Okay, thank you. Sure. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah. Welcome to all of you to our knowledge night. Inshallah ta'ala, this is a weekly gathering of knowledge, a gathering of ilm that inshallah ta'ala will help us to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help us to love each other more and to be more compassionate to each other, and to help us be better leaders and servants of humanity, inshallah ta'ala. The book that we have been going through, just for those of you who are here for the first time, we are going through a book called The Lives of Man. The Lives of Man. It's a book with universal application. Anyone can learn from this book, whether they are Muslim or not, whether they're Jewish, Christian, even if they're atheist. It goes through the different phases in the life of the human being, from the time when you're first conscious as a pure spirit to the time you are born, and then through birth and childhood and adolescence, and then maturity and seniority to death. And then the book goes into the details of what happens to us as human beings at death, at the time of death, and then after death in the barzakh, in the intermediate realm, or what we call the grave. What happens to people when they're in the qabr, when they're in the qubur. And then it goes over the affairs, the events of the Day of Judgment Day, of resurrection, and the weighing of people's deeds, and the intercession of the prophets, peace and blessings be upon them, and the righteous. And then it goes into the crossing over the bridge and the entering of some people into the garden, the heavenly garden, paradise, Jannah, heaven, and others, and we seek refuge in God, in Allah, na'udhu billah, into the hellfire, and we seek refuge in Allah from the hellfire. The book was written by the great scholar, the great Imam, Abdullah ibn Alawi al-Haddad, one of the greatest scholars of this ummah. He was from southern Yemen, and he lived about 200 to 300 years ago. He wrote many books, and he was also blind, but you can't tell it from his writings because he writes like someone who can see. And so you can imagine this book and all these other books, he was dictating it, and people were writing it down. Really amazing. So he was blind from the time he was a little boy. So, but he was a great scholar, and this is one of his blessed books. And again, our dear brother, the mujtahid student, the striving, hardworking student, Zishan Qureshi, is filling in for Ustad Yusuf Hussain tonight with reading the English. So I'll start with the Arabic, inshallah. We already read this part, but just again, for the benefit of those who are here for the first time, we'll begin again. وفيها قال المؤلف رحمه الله نفعنا الله بعلمه وبركاته وأرضى عنه. The author, Imam Abdullah al-Alawi al-Haddad bin Alawi al-Haddad, says, may Allah have mercy upon him and benefit us by his knowledge and by his blessedness. وفي هذا السن الذي هو الشيخوخة يغلب على الإنسان رجوع إلى الله وشدة العناية بالتزود للآخرة وزهد في الدنيا وغاية التشمير والجد في العمل بطاعة لمن وفقه الله، وهو وقت الوقار والخشوع والمجانبة له والهزل بالمرة.
In the age of seniority, people's dominant state is to revert to God, to be careful to gather provisions for their life to come, to renounce the things of this world, of the world, and do their utmost in obedience, when success in this is granted to them. It is the age of dignity, reverence, and the total avoidance of jest and levity.
So the person who reaches the age of 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and above, this person, because of the grace of Allah, they now become very serious about life if they're not serious already. Hopefully they're serious already. They don't spend a lot of time joking and wasting their time, but they are focused on making every second count. Because by this time in life, you appreciate every second. You know that every second, every moment, every hour is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from God exalted is He. This is a person, the Imam describes, who's no longer deceived and attached to the luxuries of this world. No longer. Inshallah. This is a person who is striving to return to Allah in the best of states. And from among the best of states is to leave this world where you don't owe anyone anything. And you have not harmed anyone. As the Prophet ﷺ, when he knew his time was coming, he used to go to the companions and he would ask them, this is Rasulullah ﷺ, if there's anyone that I owe something to, money or whatever, let me know. If there's anyone I've wronged, let me know. If there's anyone that I've hurt, let me know. Brothers and sisters, you don't want to leave this world while anyone has a haqq against you, when anyone has a right against you, whether it's money or whether it is their rights that you have violated. May Allah Ta'ala give us success to leave that way. And then he says, وَلِذَلِكَ كَانَ الَّذِي يَمِيلُ مِنَ الْمَشَايِخِ إِلَى خِلَافِ ذَلِكَ مستقبح الحال سيء الطريقة مستنكر السيرة.
Any person of this age not conforming to this pattern will be thought of as ugly of behavior and reprehensible of conduct. In the authentic
نعم. وفي الحديث الصحيح ثلاثة لا يكلمهم الله يوم القيامة ولا ينظر إليهم ولا يزكيهم ولهم عذاب أليم فعد منهم الشيخ الزاني فصارت هذه الفاحشة القبيحة من كل أحد أقبح منه وأفحش لما هو عليه من كبر السن وكونه في مظنة الخوف من الله تعالى والخشية وحال الوقار والحياء من الله تعالى.
In the authentic hadith about the three kinds of people to whom God does not speak, look at, or purify on the day of rising, and who have a painful punishment, one of the three is the adulterous old man. This abhorrent depravity is even more abhorrent and depraved in his case because of his age and his supposed fear of God, apprehension, gravamen, and shame before God.
The man and the woman who's old, we expect them to be models now, right? Not to be models of righteousness and uprightness for the community. They are not people who are the slaves of their desires. And so, yeah, the Shaykh is saying that the elderly men and women, they have a higher standard that they are held to because they have wisdom now, inshallah ta'ala, and they have overcome, inshallah, the nafs, the self, that commands to evil. وقد بلغنا أن أول من شاب إبراهيم الخليل عليه الصلاة والسلام فلما رأى الشيء قال يا ربي ما هذا؟ فقال له ربه هذا هو الوقار فقال ربي زدني منه.
White hair usually appears at this time. For someone whose hair turns gray while a Muslim, it becomes a light for him. This is the hadith. It has been related that the first person whose hair turned white was Abraham the friend, peace be upon him, who asked, "O Lord, what is this?" His Lord answered, "This is dignity." So he said, "Lord, give me more dignity."
So, this is not, this is a narration. The first person to get gray hair, Prophet Abraham. Peace be upon him. Gray hair is a good thing. It's a good thing. It's nur. The hadith says that the gray hair, the reality of gray hair is that it is light. MashaAllah, lots of light. Lots of nur. Right? So, gray hair is a blessing for the person who has faith, the person who has iman and does good deeds. Your gray hair is a blessing, and it is a badge of dignity, of waqar. Like we have Brother Waqar here, right? Brother Waqar Qureshi is Zishad's father. His name is Waqar. What does waqar mean? Waqar means someone who is dignified. You want to know what waqar is? Look at a lion. That's waqar. A lion. Very dignified. Very, heavy, gravitas. But this gray hair is a messenger, the Imam says. It's not just gray hair, so you can get discounts, right? Or people can give you their seat, right? The gray hair is a messenger from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالشَّيْبُ مُذَكِّرٌ أي مذكر بقرب الأجل وطيب صات الأمل ومؤذن بقرب الرحيل والسرعة التحويل. ويقال الشيب مظنة الأجل وطريدة الأمل. ويقال أيضا ما أقبح غشيان اللمم إذا ألم الشيب باللمم.
White hair is a reminder of the nearness of one's time and the necessity of folding up the spread carpet of hope. It proclaims...
Meaning hope for a long life. When the gray comes, stop. Amal is hope that's vain hopes. Once you start to get gray, you're not like the 20-year-old who thinks they're invincible. You realize, I'm mortal. My life is coming to an end. Whether or not I like it, or not, my life is coming to an end. So there's a greater sense of purpose. There's a greater sense of the kind of legacy I'm going to leave behind me in my family, my community, my institutions, or the country, or even the world. So the losing hope here doesn't mean losing hope in the mercy of Allah. That's not what the Shaykh means. He means losing hope of a long life here. And what people start doing around this time is they start to build foundations, institutions, right? If they are in heedlessness of Allah, they think putting their name on something so that people remember them is going to give them some kind of longevity. Why do people do this? Because the nafs of the human being, the self of the human being, it wants to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It wants eternity. It wants khulud. This is how Satan deceived our father Adam alayhi salam. You want to live forever? Eat from the tree. But it's not through buildings in your name or through your body that you live forever. You live forever through your ruh, through the spirit. Because the spirit by its very nature is immortal. And that is who you really are. And as you approach old age and seniority, the body starts to deteriorate. Around the mid-30s, the body starts to deteriorate. And as you mature, you become more convinced of the superiority of your mind and your spirit over the body. Right. The young people, most of them usually they don't understand this. They think the body is everything. Right? Or most of it. So
It proclaims the imminence of one's departure and the rapidity of change. It is said that white hair brings with it the suspicion that one's time has come. It is the banisher of hope. Al-Khatib al-Nubata said,
وقال الخطيب ابن نباتة ألا إن الشيب تغر الحياة الذي لا يمكن اجسداده ولا يصلح الدهر فساده وهو نور طالع بأفول النسم سائر بأشخاص إلى محال الرمم فلا تحرقوا رحمكم الله نور مشيبكم بنار ذنوبكم انتهى.
Al-Khatib ibn Nabata said, white hair is a hole in life which cannot be plugged.
Can't plug it. White hair, like I was saying last 2 weeks ago, you take one out, 5 come. Right? It's a hole you can't plug. Like people try to plug a dam. It's, there's a crack in the dam and the water's gushing out. You can't, Once it starts coming, it just keeps coming.
And whose worsening is not repaired by time. It is a light that rises as the breath of life sets.
So he's saying, don't be despaired with growing old. It is a nur from Allah. It is a light that rises, and the older you get, the higher it gets like the sun. It shines. This is how we should see old age. That the people who are elders are like shining lights for us. What does the light do? What does light do? It helps us to see. It dispels darkness. This is the role of the elders of the community. To dispel darkness. To be shining lights for the community. Inshallah ta'ala.
A mover of people to the place of rotten bones. Do not, may God have mercy on you, burn the light of your white hair with the fire of your sins.
So what puts out the light of white hair? What puts out the light? So white hair, the gray hair, is a light. It is nur. But what extinguishes the light? Sins. So the most beautiful thing is to see someone who is mature in age, senior in age, and they are righteous. It's nurun ala nur. It is light upon light, light upon light. And those people, the wrinkles and all of these things, it's as if they're not even there. Because of the light of their obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if a person, on the other hand, is getting up in age, but they're still drowning in a sea of heedlessness and sin, then they become more, they lose the radiance that should come with old age. With old age, you should get more handsome, more beautiful. Right? But it has to be old age that's also coupled with obedience, loving obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام قال الله تعالى وعزتي وجلالي وفاقتي خلقي إلي أني لا أستحيي من عبدي وأمتي يشيبان في الإسلام أن أعذبهما ثم بكى فقيل ما يبكيك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أبكي ممن يستحيي الله منه وهو لا يستحيي من الله.
The Messenger of God, upon whom be blessings and peace, has said, God the Exalted has said, by my eminence and majesty and the need of my creatures for me, I would be too ashamed to torment my men servants and my women servants, whose hair has turned white in Islam. Then he wept. So that they asked, "What is it that makes you weep, O Messenger of God?" Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he replied, "I weep because of those before whom God is ashamed, and who do not feel ashamed before Him."
So the Shaykh here is saying that the person who is an elder has a special status. That Allah Ta'ala the word is astahi, He's shy, metaphorically, for punishing the one who's become old in Islam. You became Muslim, and then you get grayed in Islam. Allah Ta'ala does not love to punish that person for the sins they did. It's glad news, good news of forgiveness from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But then the narration goes on to say Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam started weeping, started crying. They asked him, "Why are you crying?" He said, "I'm crying because of the one whom Allah is shy from, but they're not shy from Allah." What does that mean? The person is not shy to disobey Allah. That's the greatest shyness. Haya. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-haya shu'batun min al-iman." That shyness, bashfulness is a branch of faith. But it's not just shyness among people. Right? We're pretty good at that. We watch what we say around who we're with. But the greatest shyness is to be shy before Allah, to know Allah is always looking at you. And as you get older, this reality is even more present. And then the Shaykh says, وَمِنَ الْمَنْدُوبِ إِلَيْهِ تَوْقِيرِ ذِي الشَّيْبَةِ الْمُسْلِمِ ذي الشيبة المسلم قال عليه الصلاة والسلام من إجلال الله إجلال ذي الشيبة المسلم وحامل القرآن غير الغالي فيه ولا جافعا والإمام المقسط وهو العادل.
A white-haired Muslim must be respected, for the Prophet ﷺ has said, upon him be blessings and peace, "It is part of revering God to revere a white-haired Muslim, the bearer of the Quran when he is neither excessive nor deficient regarding it, and the equitable leader, Imam." He also said,
so from adab, from good manners, whenever you see a Muslim who has gray hair, who's older, brother or sister, show them respect. That is from Islam. Show them respect. You rush to help them. You give them your seat. You let them go in front of you. You carry their burdens. You do their groceries for them. Whenever you can. Showing this honor towards the elder Muslim who is in submission to Allah, it's as if you are showing honor to Allah Ta'ala. Because of how close they are to the spiritual world. You see, this is the beauty of Islam. And you find this in many cultures as well. We show love and compassion towards the young, the children, and we show honor and reverence towards the elders. Why? Why? They're on the two opposite ends of life. Why? Why? No, not because they're weak. Some of these elders, especially the ones that have been doing Kung Fu for a long time, they can throw you and me. It's deeper than that. Yes, I mean, some of them need, they're vulnerable, they're weak, yes, but it's deeper than that. Do children have wisdom? Yes. Yes, very good. They're closer to Allah. And the children have wisdom. But most of us, we don't understand their language. They speak their own language, by the way. Yes. The children speak their own language. But you can't, you have to understand them with the heart, not with, they're closer to Allah. They're closer to the spiritual realm. And because they're closer to the spiritual realm, dimension, there are things that we can learn from little babies and infants, especially in their first 3 years, and from those who are 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. Listen to them. Watch them, and you will learn many things, and you will become wise yourself. You will get closer to Allah yourself. And it is a tragedy that our society now, because many of us are busy working, because we don't have the extended family structure that we used to have, many of our elders, we send them away to hospices, and we need them, nursing homes, we need them. We need them. And the elders, they need the children. When the children are around elders, they behave better. And when the elders are around children, they're more lively. They're more engaged. The elders have stories to tell. They want to talk and share everything that's happened to them the past 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. But how many of us have time to listen? Right. But the little children, the 2, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, they have the time to listen. And not only that, they have the interest as well. Because Allah Ta'ala gives these little children the propensity towards hearing in these first 7 years. They're more oral than visual and tactile. Right. So we should bring this back together. We should bring this back into our cultures, and especially those of us who run businesses. We should do what we can, 5 years, 10, 15, 20, 50-year plans to reorganize our lives so that our elders don't end up in nursing homes. Sometimes you can avoid it. But other times, they end up in nursing homes because everyone else is too busy. They're too busy. And they've actually done studies. I was listening to NPR a few months ago. They've done studies that in times of depression, in times of economic depression, not psychological depression, and recession, when a lot of times people can't afford to send their elders away and they have to stay in the home, the families actually do better. People are more happy. People are more stable. The psychological illnesses decrease. It's as if there has to be an economic tragedy in order to remind us of what's most important. May Allah Ta'ala give us understanding. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام ليس منا من لم يوقر كبيرنا ويرحم صغيرنا ويأمر بالمعروف وينهى عن المنكر وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام ما وقر الشاب شيخا إلا قيض الله له في سنه من يوقره.
He ﷺ also said, someone who does not show respect for our elders and compassion for our youngsters, and does not enjoin good and forbid evil, is not of us. He said, when a young man honors an older person, God sends him someone who will show him respect when he reaches that age.
Alhamdulillah, and we'll stop here, because as I said, we're going to keep it short today because of the weather. This is one of the rewards of honoring the elders and showing love towards the young. That you are counted from the real, true followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And a lot of times in our cultures, we emphasize respecting the elders, don't we? Right? If you come from like the culture, and I grew up partly in Nigeria, Yeah, filial piety is stressed. The elders can do no wrong. You know what I'm talking about? Even if the whole city knows that the elder did the wrong thing, no one says it. Right? This is extreme. And it is not healthy. The Prophet ﷺ, he taught us that you should tell the truth and stand for justice even if it's against what? Your own self, or your own family, your own parents, your own children. Justice. And he balances Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in this hadith between honoring the elders and showing love and compassion towards the young. We must emphasize both of them. Respect those who are elderly, but also be kind and compassionate and loving and merciful to our young people. If you do that, he says you are from him. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May Allah make us from him. So that on the Day of Judgment, we are counted among his true followers. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then he said also, commanding what is good and forbidding what is wrong. Which is a long chapter. It takes a lot of knowledge to command what is good and forbid what is wrong. It takes a lot of knowledge, brothers and sisters, to command what is good and to forbid what is wrong. A lot of knowledge. Why? Because you can only command that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established is an obligation. And you can only forbid that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has categorically forbidden. You can only command what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has himself commanded through authentic narrations that have multiple chains of transmission. And you can only forbid what he has forbidden sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if we understood this, brothers and sisters, so many of the problems we have in our communities would go away overnight. One of our problems is that we spend so much time nitpicking and nagging one another about things that Allah himself has not commanded or forbidden. I'll give you an example. There was a some of you were here when this happened. There was a young woman who was not Muslim. She was at a masjid. I won't say which masjid, but some of you know what happened. She wasn't wearing modest clothes. She wasn't covering her head. And someone came and was very harsh and rude with her, a Muslim, Astaghfirullah, right? And said to her, why aren't you covering your hair? Right? And then when it was time for prayer, they asked her, why aren't you praying? She's not even Muslim. Before praying and covering her hair, there should be iman. There should be faith first. That's what's most important. But the person made an assumption about who she was and where she was. Before one of the most important pillars of da'wah, of calling people to Allah. Inshallah, one day we'll go over the fiqh of da'wah. What is the jurisprudence of calling people to Allah? The first pillar is what? Ta'rif, ta'arruf. You have it in Urdu? Ta'arruf? What does it mean in Urdu? To get to know. Before you start commanding and forbidding, get to know the person. Who are you? How can I help you? Welcome. Welcome to the masjid. Welcome to the mosque. Before you start another situation, this happened here. There were some young women. It's always young women, right? They were taking selfies at the mihrab. So someone wanted them to stop. They're in the masjid. Where do you want them to be? There's a million other places that these young women could be besides the masjid. They chose to come to the masjid. And if you understand young people, they only take selfies of things they love and they like. And rather than taking pictures of their food, alhamdulillah, they're taking pictures of the ayats of Allah. Hayatul Kursi. It's a good thing. And the person came to me and said, Imam, you need to stop these young people from coming in and taking selfies at the mihrab. They came to me and I said, what do you mean? What are they doing that's haram? Right? And so there are many things like this. I don't want to go into many other issues. But there are issues with regards to what people say and do that we need to always ask ourselves, is there an ayah in the Quran that commands it? Is there an ayah in the Quran that forbids it? If the answer is no, please leave the person alone. You have less stress in your life, and people will not be stressed out by you either. Always ask, what does the Quran say? And what does the hadith say? Don't just chastise people or correct people based on your assumptions or your knowledge. And this will make you, inshallah, and me from the community of the Prophet ﷺ, his real community, not just the people that are Muslim in name. Right? We have many of those. But people who are Muslim in their souls. May Allah make us among them. And then the last thing that we read here is this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said that if you show respect to a gray-haired person, and this one, it says, "Man waqara shaba shaykhan." It just says a gray-haired person. It doesn't say Muslim. And anyone who's gray. Then when you get old, Allah Ta'ala will appoint people, will choose people who will show you respect when you become an elder. So there's something in it for you. This is when I was in sales, they always used to say most people are tuned in to the radio station WIIFM. You heard of this before? WIIFM. What's in it for me? So this is what's in it for you. The Prophet ﷺ said, كَيْفَ مَا تُدِينُ تُدَانُ. However you treat people, it's how you will be treated. I always tell my children, behave, so that when you get older, your children will behave. And they always say, that must mean when you were little, you didn't behave. Right? Because Allah gave us to you. I say, you're right. So may Allah Ta'ala bless our elders. May Allah Ta'ala bless our youth. May Allah Ta'ala bless all of our community. May Allah Ta'ala increase us in knowledge. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. We'll just take a few minutes if there are any questions or comments. Jazakallah khair. Right, the question is, Zakaria Bai is asking if a person chooses not to correct someone because they know that they don't have knowledge of the issue, are they committing less of a sin than someone who just based on their experience, based on hearsay, they go and start correcting people for what they think may be haram? And the answer is yes, you're correct. Right? Subhanallah, one of the scholars used to say, I would prefer to mistake 1,000 people to be Muslim than to mistake one person to be a disbeliever. I would rather mistake 1,000 people to be Muslim than to mistake one person to be a disbeliever, who's actually, in the sight of Allah, a believer, right? And so yeah, that's very important. And if you don't know, so there's certain things that all Muslims know. These are called in Islamic law and fiqh, al-ma'lum bil-darura. Things that are known by necessity. Al-ma'lum bil-darura. There's certain things that every Muslim knows. Eating pork is what? Haram to do. Most of the time, unless you're starving and there's nothing else to eat at all. Nothing else to eat at all. And all there is are some pork rinds or something. You just eat enough so you don't die. Then eating pork becomes wajib. Becomes fard, right? We all know that, Muslims know that we should be praying 5 times a day. At least 5 times a day, the ritual prayer. And so if you see someone not praying, then you should, again, this takes wisdom. Right? Because it's better for someone to be Muslim and not praying than to be not Muslim but praying just to make you happy. You understand? It's better for someone to be a Muslim. They believe in Allah. They believe in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they don't pray. That's better than someone who's in their heart because someone hurt them or someone gave them wrong information or drove them out of the masjid and they leave Islam. But they pray with their, and I know people like this, some of them come to me, I just pray when I go to visit my family. Huh? There are people like that. They don't really, they're secular people. They don't believe, but they just pray to make their mother and father happy. May Allah protect us and our children from this. Yeah, so alhamdulillah. Yeah, so knowledge is important. That's why these classes and circles of knowledge are essential, especially if, there's some people that like to correct others, right? There are people that they actually enjoy correcting others. They only talk to you to correct you, right? Otherwise, they won't talk to you at the masjid, right? This is Assalamu alaikum, brother. I want to tell you, you didn't do this, right? And other than that, they won't talk to you. They don't even know your name. They don't even know who you are, where you're from. It's a big problem. Right? So yeah, if you like to correct people, you think you have to make sure that everyone in the masjid is following the Quran and Sunnah, please have knowledge. Go study with scholars, study, read, and let the scholars train you and test you so that you correct people with love and with wisdom. Inshallah. Now go ahead.
One question I had, so my understanding from things that I've heard, right, like the age of 40 is like a pretty significant age of the Prophet revelation that Musa became prophet, and it's mentioned in the Quran. Why is it that Imam Haddad cites 50 as like the age of old age instead of 40?
Right. So he doesn't say, yeah, so we covered age of 40 last month.
Sorry.
Yeah, so we covered the age of 40 last month. And he also, if you look at the book, the PDF is online in English. If you look it up, you'll see that when he covers that section, he is very clear that is a pivotal point in your life. It's not like we think in American society that when you hit 40, everything's downhill. No. The Quran teaches, and the Prophet ﷺ, and as you mentioned, many of the prophets did not become prophets till they were 40. did not begin the experience of prophethood, rather we should say, till the age of 40. There's some exceptions, right? Like Jesus Christ, alayhi salam, the son of Mary, when he was a little baby, Inni Abdullah, right? I'm the messenger I'm the servant of Allah, and I'm his messenger, right? He was a baby, fil mahad, right? In the cradle. But most of the prophets, according to the narrations we have, generally the rule is that they begin the experience of prophethood at 40. And also for us, as I said when we were going over this section, most human beings, as they approach 40, some 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, others 41, 42, 43, but usually within the ages from 35 to 45, you will have some very profound spiritual experiences. That's just the way human beings are wired. And you have a choice to either follow that or to ignore it. And usually if people ignore it, they go through what's called a midlife crisis. Right? They start buying Ferraris, right? Or they want to marry a second wife, right? Or something like this. They think that getting something or marrying a younger woman, or if they're not Muslim, you see they start dating young women because they're trying to hold on to something and not recognize what Allah Ta'ala is, how Allah is developing them. Women, any questions, ladies? The women have no questions, just answers. Right? Okay, last question, inshallah. Yeah.
Shaykh, I just wanted to know, you talked about the white beard very significantly, but I wanted to ask you, what is and why is the significance that I see so many Muslims wearing the red beard? Is there a significance to the wearing of the red beard?
Right, yeah. So he actually talks about that next. Right. The next, inshallah ta'ala. So we'll be going over that next week. So dyeing the beard. Right. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he passed away, how many white hairs did he have? Anybody remember?
16, 14.
About 18, 17, 18. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. White hairs. Not more than 20 white hairs. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he passed away according to the most authentic reports at the age of 63, 63 lunar years, which means in solar years he was about how old? No, older. No, I'm sorry, younger, 61. 61. So solar years about 61, lunar years 63. And he only had about not more than 20 gray hairs, but even those he used to dye them with khatab or hina, what they call mendi, right, in Urdu. It's a plant that has a reddish or orange color, and sometimes it fades over time. People put it on for weddings and things like that. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to do that as well. So that's why you see a lot of Muslims dyeing their beards, and it's red and orange or yellow and colors like this. Now the Imam talks about this issue. So what about dyeing the hair black? Right? I wasn't going to talk about this tonight, but you asked the question. So dyeing the hair black, most of the scholars say it's haram. Most. But it is permissible. There are scholars that say that dyeing the hair black is absolutely halal. Right? Halal. So there's difference of opinion about dyeing the hair black. But dyeing the hair red or orange, there's no khilaf about dyeing the hair red or orange with henna. Yeah. But most people think you can't dye your hair black. No, that's not true. You can. You can. Yeah. Yes. 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 Exactly. That's right. Yeah. One of the sisters, yes. I know, that's what I just said. That most scholars say that it's prohibited to dye the hair black. but I was saying that that's not a unanimous position, that there is difference of opinion. It is permissible to dye the hair black. It is permissible. Yeah. We'll talk about that next week. So yes, in there it says it's prohibited, but I wanted you all to know, and Dr. Shafiq confirmed it, that from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that yes, it is permissible to dye the hair black. And so this is another thing, right? So again, commanding the good, forbidding the evil. You see a brother, he dyed his hair black. And because you may only know the fatwas, the hukum, that dyeing the hair black is prohibited, you're looking at the brother like, what? You're not a good Muslim. Right? Why are you dyeing your hair black? Didn't you read the hadith? Don't you follow the scholars? No, there's difference of opinion. So leave him alone. Leave him alone. Don't worry. You are not responsible for the salvation of anybody. The only thing you're responsible for is conveying the good news that Allah is real, that the prophets are real, and that the hereafter, the resurrection is real. That's all. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sallam. Oh Allah, we ask that you make us people of knowledge and wisdom and good character and forbearance, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask that you give us respect and reverence for our elders, Ya Allah. And make their old age, Ya Allah, the best part of their lives, Ya Allah. Let their old age be a time of happiness for them, Ya Allah, and relief, Ya Allah. Give them the best of health in their old age, Ya Allah. And we ask, oh Allah, that we reach old age while you are pleased with us. We ask for long lives, Ya Allah, long lives that you are pleased with, that are full of righteousness and blessing, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Long lives that are used to fulfill your duties, Ya Allah, our duties to you and our duties to our fellow creatures. And we pray for our youth and our children, Ya Allah, that you bless them in their youth, that you make them among those who take advantage and take benefit from the energy, Ya Allah, and the optimism of youth and the enthusiasm of youth, Ya Allah, and that they study and that they learn and that they listen to the wisdom of the elders, and that their hearts are attached to your book and attached to the Prophet ﷺ and attached to the Masajid, Ya Allah, and that they and us are people of service to you and service to your creatures, and love and compassion, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, give everyone a safe return to their homes. Oh Allah, we pray for all of those who are suffering around this country because of the cold, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask for relief from the cold, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask that you give people warmth. Oh Allah, we ask that all those who have died, that you grant them the best of those who die in their state, Ya Allah. And if they are believers, that you count them from the martyrs, from the shuhada, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, we ask for your protection and for your forgiveness. We ask that you make us among those who return to you, who make tawbah to you, al-tawbah being, Ya Allah. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.